Hey everybody, I'm Amani and this is the Holistic Karmic Astrological Podcast, and today I'm talking about the cosmic storm of July 2026. So what is it? Well, it's involving Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto and Chiron, 7 major aspects within a single month. So, this isn't a metaphor, this is astronomy, astrology. So yeah, we've also got the first exact peak of the magic triangle for this year as well. That's been going on from 2025 and will continue to 2028. So this is the first video where I'll mention this, and there'll be another one, but today I'm focusing on the 7 aspects of July 2026 and how they're going to affect us 27 and 28 as well. So stay tuned for all that good stuff. So as I said, in July 2026, the slowest moving bodies in our solar system, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto and Chiron, are all sort of like, making these aspects. So this is not background noise, this is squares, trines, sextiles and oppositions, the aspects that matter, the aspects that invoke changes in society and in how we think and do things as individuals as well. And at the center of it all, the magic triangle, Uranus in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces and Pluto in Capricorn. So this is a earth water trine that forms like once in a century. And also on the 25th of July, Neptune and Pluto continue their, the sextile that they are having at 9 degrees Pisces and 9 degree Capricorn. So here's what you need to know. So what the hey is a magic triangle, I hear you say. So, in a nutshell, a magic triangle is also called a minor grand trine in astrology. So, it's formed when 2 planets are in a trine 120 degrees with each other, and a 3rd planet forms a sextile 60 degree to both of them, creating a triangular pattern in the chart. It blends the flowing of ease of the trine with the opportunity-driven energy of 2 sextiles, making it more gentler, more actable. You are more, going to use it. That's what I'm trying to say, yeah? So it's, it's a smaller version of a grand trine. The sextile planet acts as the trigger point that unlocks the trine's potential through conscious effort. So yeah. So the magic triangle has been happening since 2025 and will continue making exact and other contact through to 2028. So we've got Uranus in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces, Pluto in Capricorn at the moment, forming an earth water grand trine that hasn't really aligned at these exact degrees in modern astrology, right? So what is this magic triangle bringing? So we're seeing a lot of revolutionary changes in our society right now. We're getting more infused with mystical vision. We're seeing through the happy clappy spirituality and getting into the grounded mystical facts and seeing beyond these gurus and cults that promise us certain things or say we've got to do things in certain ways spiritually. A lot of transformational, energy around power and how power works in our society. With at the moment lots of people in power abusing their power in society, and with anything, it's going to go to a peak and then it's going to collapse, right? So ultimately the energies are wanting us to work together instead of fighting, although we are in the fighting stage at the moment. So this magic triangle is teaching us vision in how to ground our ideas into matter, into our day-to-day routine through the death, letting go of false separations based on colour, gender and anything else and beliefs, and we've got 7 outer planets that transits that compress into July 2026. So these also add to the architecture that actually changes how society operates. But, here's what really matters. Some of these transits are unique to just July 2026 and never repeat. Others continue teaching us through 2027 and 2028. So this is why I'm calling it the cosmic storm. Yeah, guys, it's the cosmic storm because it's triggering us into, dealing with our wounds and all the other stuff I'm going to talk about. So the sequence starts on the 2nd of July when Jupiter squares Chiron. So this allows us to confront our unhealable wound through growing through it, learning to grow, expand around what cannot be fixed. So saying, hey, yeah, I've got this wound, it's never going to go away, but I can learn to manage it, how to, move forward without allowing it to stop me from doing the things I want to do in life anymore. And this aspect is unique to 2026. It doesn't come back over the next 3 years. And then we've got Uranus sextiling Neptune, and Uranus making a trine to Pluto between the 15th and 18th of July. So this is when revolutionary ideas meets mystical vision, whilst material innovation flows with transformational power, as I said. And these two aspects repeat in 2027 and 2028. This is the opening chapter of a multi-year teaching arc where we're learning to align our faith with vision. And on the 20th of July, we have two other aspects. So we've got Jupiter making a trine to Neptune, again aligning our faith with vision. It's a pure water trine because they're both in, Jupiter's in Cancer and Neptune's in Pisces. So spiritual knowing can flood into our consciousness. It feels true because it actually is true. And then 7 hours later at 3:45 on the 20th, we've got Jupiter opposing Pluto, right? So our expansion, our need to grow faces a death. So it's calling us and allowing us to let go of outdated spiritual and other beliefs. And the morning vision of that pure spirituality is tested by the afternoon reality, but that's what's going to go on over the next 3 years of some of these aspects coming back, as well as the other astrological things that are going to happen, which I will talk about in other videos that I'm posting, right? So I've got the magic triangle where video coming soon. I'm going to talk about what to do specifically with that energy from 2026 to 2028. So these Jupiter aspects of the trine to Neptune and the opposition to Pluto are unique to 2026. They do not repeat, and they trigger us off of letting go and facing reality and being open to newness. And then on the 21st of July, Jupiter makes a sextile to Uranus. So if you had your faith through the previous day's opposition, you can now use that expanded capacity to support innovation, newness in your life, right? If you're open to that, to start building something new. Then on the 25th of July, the magic triangle peaks for this year. So that's Neptune sextile Pluto at 9 degrees Pisces and Capricorn. So our vision can work with our need to transform, to let go, and the mystic can trust power. Our power become empowered. The aviator lost in the clouds, which is the Sabian symbology for Pluto in Capricorn, I believe, can allow us to land, to build a revolutionary new garden, new life for ourselves. And this aspect repeats 6 times through to November 2028. So this is the beginning. And the triangle is training us, right? It's training us to, be open to newness and to see through the power structures in the world and to be open to empowering ourselves. And the 4 Jupiter aspects compress the entire teaching into 3 weeks. They hit hard and fast, then they're done. Your job is to survive them and learn what they're teaching about holding your vision, holding your goals, holding your truth, right? While facing reality, which can go against your personal truth, involves other people's truths, but it's saying, hey, if you really want something, go for it. As Jimmy Cliff sang, you can get it if you really want it, right? And the 3 longer aspects with Uranus Neptune, Uranus Pluto, and Neptune Pluto gives us up into 2028 to integrate the lessons, right? But the integration only works if you don't collapse, if you don't let go. You have to stand your ground, right? Especially in July 2026. So, you know, when the pesser peaks, so pay attention to what you let into your zone. Make sure you resist burnout, take some time out for relaxation, and check your facts as well in terms of information that you take in and believe, right? Notice what innovations, changes want to emerge, come up in your life. Notice where vision actually grounds versus where it stays in fantasy. And the transits that repeat through to 2028 are giving you multiple chances to get it right. The transits unique to July 2026 are not coming back. You get one shot to learn what they're teaching, and it's not chaos, it's preparation, right? And each transit teaches what the next one needs, right? So by July 25th, 2026, when the magic triangle peaks, you have been trained, right, to, open up to newness and to let go of the dead rot, the outdated thoughts, beliefs, and relationships in your life, right? So the question that you'll be left with is, did you survive the training, and what are you building with what you've learned, right? So if you just wanted the summary version, that's just it. I'm going to go into the timeline a little bit more now. Then I'm going to give guidance for all 12 zodiac signs, and then I'm going to break down the meaning of each of the 7 transits one by one. So buckle up and keep on listening. So as I said, we've got 7 transits that are happening in July. We've got Jupiter making a square to Chiron, and this entered on the 26th of June, is exact at 3:23 a.m. on the 2nd of July, and leaves us at 9:39 a.m. on the 7th of July. And Jupiter is in the 7th Sabine degree of Cancer, and Chiron's in the 7th Sabine degree of Aries, right? And then we've got Uranus's sextile to Neptune. So it's been ongoing, but it's entering the exact orb on the 24th of June at 11:57 a.m. It peaks on the 15th of July at 9:31 p.m. and it leaves at 3:10 p.m. on the 6th of August, and then it repeats again on the 15th of January and the 6th of June 2027, and it enters again on the 16th of February 2028. And then we've got Uranus making a trine to Pluto. It enters on July the 3rd 2026 at 10:33 a.m. It's exact at 5:45 a.m. on July 18th. It leaves us on the 4th of August 2026 at 1:39 a.m. It also happens again on the 15th of June 2027 and the 13th of January 2028 and the 10th of May 2028. And then we've got Jupiter's trine to Neptune entering on the 15th of July at 10:16 p.m. exact at 8:22 a.m. On the 20th of July, and leaves us on the 24th of July 2026. Then Jupiter's opposition to Pluto enters on the 16th of July at 2026 at 1:16 p.m. is exact on the 20th of July at 3:45 p.m. and leaves us on the 24th of July 2026 and doesn't repeat, right? And then we've got Jupiter making a sextile to Uranus entering on the 15th of July 2026 at 10:28 p.m. is exact on the 21st of July 2026 at 10:12 p.m. and leaves us on the 26th of July at 10:54 p.m. and it doesn't repeat in 27 or 2028. And then we've got Neptune making a sextile to Pluto, which is part of the magic triangle, right? So this enters on the 11th of June 2026 at 6:13 a.m. It's exact for the first time on the 25th of July at 6:48 a.m. Then exact again on the 16th of September at 2:46 a.m. Then leaves the exact orb on the 30th of October 2026. So this is really influencing us this year. And it also happens on the 29th of June 2027 and the 18th of October 2027, and also on the 9th of June 2028 and the 8th of November 2028 as well. So that's the timeline, guys. So now I'm going to go into the zodiac guidance for all 12 signs and then go into each aspect layer by layer. So yeah. Okay, so for Aries, Sun, Moon and Rising, the 7 outer planets are hitting your angular houses, which are your 1st, 4th, 7th and 10th houses, right? So for you Aries and those with strong Aries energy, this is a full-scale life reorganization across, your identity, your 1st house, your home, your 4th house and your partnerships, relationships, 7th house and your career, your 10th house, right? So Jupiter in Cancer activates your 4th house, home, family, roots, heritage and your emotional foundation, right? And all 5 Jupiter aspects, the square to Chiron, the trine to Neptune, the opposition to Pluto, the sextile to Uranus, the trine to Saturn, which is next month in August, happen from your home base. And I'm going to talk more about Jupiter's trine to Saturn because it happens 3 times over the next 3 years in a separate video. But yeah, ultimately this trine is supporting you to grow, especially overcoming your wound around home comforts, any sort of like heartbreak, rejection, abandonment that happened in your childhood, your sense of belonging, and grow through that. So, growing your sense of home while also carrying the I don't belong here wound. So as I said, these aspects are wanting us to, call out our scars, our wounds, and to learn to live with them or continue that work, not to diminish, our wounds, but to get us to say, hey, we can't just let life pass us by. We only live this lifetime once, this specific lifetime of who you are now, So the trine to Neptune allows you to be open to the vision of the unseen, so the unknown, to take risks, to be open to newness, allowing you to flow more naturally and feel more secure in your home, your sense of home within yourself or your actual physical home. And the opposition to Pluto, to your 10th house of career, brings the focus between your home needs and your career demands, and these demands and needs face each other directly, and you cannot have both without sacrifice. So it's asking you, what are you willing to give up so you can bring these into balance? And the sextile to Uranus, the 2nd house of resources, wants us and helps us to grow within our home again and to change the way we think about and use our material possessions, our money and stuff like that. Uranus in Taurus revolutionizes our, resources, changes them, and especially how we view our body and our sense of self-worth. We can experience sudden changes in our finances, unexpected income sources or unexpected bills, and we can have a sort of like body awakening without warning as well. So be gentle with yourself if this happens. You feel like you're opening up to spiritual knowledge. Remember, grounding and research, is really important, as well as critical thinking in this day and age, to make sure that you are making that one-to-one connection to whoever you see as your higher power. And then we've got the sextile to Neptune in Pisces, in the 12th house, again supporting you to change the way you view your resources, allowing you to make strategies to sort of like gain more material, money and things, in alignment with your spiritual practice, especially if you ground your vision in matter, practicality and day-to-day reality, So ultimately just being realistic about what you can achieve in a day and making a plan, right, and getting back up after every failure that you face to change your life, right? And then the trine to Pluto and Capricorn in your 10th house allows you to, again, to flow with career transformation and change, and it supports professional power shifts and changes in power and how you empower yourself and others, or making you take a stand basically in your life, especially in your career as well. And Neptune in Pisces in the 12th house again dissolves boundaries with unconsciousness, increases your spiritual sensitivity, and requires you to have some solitude and alone time, So all Neptune aspects are, can you access mystical depth, 12th house stuff, while maintaining earthly function, 10th house stuff. And the avatar in the clouds, which is the Sabian symbology for the 10th degree Pisces, is trying to land. And Pluto in Capricorn in your 10th house of public roles and career transforms authority and professional identity in your public standing. And the trine to Uranus, the 2nd house, allows career transformation and changes to flow with resources, changes as well, so revolution in how you handle your finances, as I said. And the sextile to Neptune in 12th house means that you can sort of like use your professional power in a way that collaborates and works with you being open to going deeper into your spiritual awareness as well, if you trust the connection. The opposition to Jupiter in the 4th house again puts the attention on how your career ambitions opposes the home, your needs of your home base within, your internal emotions and psychology and spirituality, and your external physical home, right? And calling your attention to the fact that both are valid, and they require you to negotiate and not abandon any plans, and Chiron in Aries in the 1st house of identity, squaring Jupiter in the 4th, the wound of being, meeting the need for belonging. So, some of you may experience that you want home and family to validate your existence, and what home and family mean to all of us are totally different things, right? But these aspects are saying that they can't validate you. The wound, predates all relationships, right? So you're going to have to work on finding that internal validation to feel secure, because, home life, family and friends can always change. People change, right? But if you develop that one-to-one relationship with yourself, you will keep that solid home base to keep you secure as you go through the cosmic storm of July 2026. So some of you, in terms of signals in your body, you may experience more jaw tension when family dynamics trigger your identity wound over the next month and the rest of the year, or you may feel it in your solar plexus as well when your career demands get in the way with the needs of your home, especially your emotions. And you may experience a sacral awakening when resources change, and your feet may refuse to ground when transcendence escapes earth, so when you go into your spirituality, you may feel ungrounded, so it's important to ground yourself in reality. So, to help you go through this cosmic storm before leaving a home situation in frustration, ask, am I leaving because it's genuinely toxic or because belonging triggers my wound? Track your home and career tension over the month of July, both the material, practical, day-to-day reality. How do you honor both, right? Ground one, the 12th house Neptune energy, ground on spiritual idea or insight into a 2nd house material form weekly. So, thinking about how you can turn your Neptune idea, spirituality, working in healthcare, because, working in the prison systems, working on the collective, it's not just all about spirituality, the 12th house, right? How you can take your idea to enrich your career or to set up a side hustle that actually works for you. The red flags for you during this time, Aries, is burning down your home or career when tension peaks without a strategy, without thinking about it, using the I don't belong wound to avoid building actual belonging within yourself, and using spiritual bypassing to escape your material day-to-day reality, right? escaping into 12th house stuff. And remember, with all Neptune energy, it can make us overindulge in drugs and alcohol and other distractions as well. The green lights, the go ahead during this time for you is the increased ability to hold home and career as both and not either or. So be finding balance between your home life and your career life, and being innovative in grounding your spiritual practice with, your material day-to-day needs, and witnessing your wound without collapsing and dissolving and giving up on yourself, right? So stay strong and easy, Aries. So for Taurus, Sun, Moon and Rising, Uranus in Taurus is in your first house, and this is your primary activator. So this is all about revolution, change, awakening, innovation in your identity and body. And it's reminding you that you are not who you were even in 2025. And every Uranus aspect asks, who are you becoming? The lightning bolt in the garden, the Sabian symbology, the sudden identity changes you may experience, body awakening, you may change your appearance and how you show up in the world as well, how you show your presence can change as well. And Uranus, Sextile, Neptune in Pisces in your 11th house of groups bring, revolutionary changes in how you express yourself and allow you to work with others in spiritual community. If you activate this connection and are willing to respect everyone's boundaries and assert your own boundaries, right? Your awakening, your first house can serve collective evolution, the 11th house energy, right? And Uranus trine Pluto in Capricorn in your 9th house of belief and teaching allows your identity revolution to flow naturally with philosophical transformation, and gives you the ability to teach yourself and others, right? And who you're becoming wants to teach what you're learning. Neptune in Pisces in your 11th house helps you to do this, right? It can spiritualize groups and networks and helps with collective participation. It dissolves boundaries with community, and all Neptune aspects ask, can you maintain your identity, Uranus in your first house, while participating, taking part in collective activities, which is Neptune in your 11th house. The mystic in the group energy, right? Allowing you to be the one that shows higher awareness. We have Jupiter in Cancer as well in your 3rd house of communication, siblings, local environment, allowing you to expand your voice with writing, teaching in your media environment. And then we've got the square to Chiron in Aries in your 12th house, allowing you to expand, grow your communication and confront the unconscious wound of existence. Some of you will want to speak about your wound, while something inside of you may whisper you shouldn't exist. And the trine to Neptune teaches flowing naturally into spiritual community while asserting your existence, saying why you exist because you do and you belong here as much as anyone else. And the opposition to Pluto in the 9th house, local communication. So you could have some tension with family, friends or neighbours that can get in the way of you taking a deeper authority over your philosophical beliefs. So you can just have tension with changing beliefs and people saying no, you can't change your beliefs and stuff like that. So there can be tension over beliefs. And your true 3rd house can confront established teaching. 9th house, so get in the way of, family religion, or religions in your community, and this can bring tension, right? The opposition energy. And Pluto in Capricorn transforms your worldview and beliefs, and as I said, people cannot like this change. It dismantles your inherited philosophy, religions and stuff like that, and compost, let go of false teaching. And the trine to Uranus in your 1st house supports this philosophical transformation, this change, and the change in your self-expression, right? And the sextile to Neptune allows you to be open to deeper teaching, again allowing you to work with others, especially on collective spiritual work. So Chiron in Aries allows you to sort of be open to sharing your wound that's invisible on the surface with others, maybe in a teaching way, in a grounded way, because Taurus, you are grounded with your energy, being an earth sign, and the square to Jupiter in your third house shows that that speaking and writing at the moment as well through this cosmic storm can trigger the wound deeper, but also it can show you how you can get over the wound as well. So it may be painful for a while, this cosmic storm, but it's basically allowing us all to dig up material that is hidden so we can heal it or accept it. And every time you communicate, you can face the I shouldn't exist wound, and it wants you to continue to teach and love on yourself. Despite the wound is the practice, right? Accepting it. So you may feel this in terms of in your body, in your throat, as constriction when you're trying to talk and you're just feeling blocked as well, in your feet and lymphatic system, when collective boundaries dissolve and you open up to sharing with groups, or in your third eye, from the 9th and 11th house spiritual work. So your daily practice is asking yourself, who am I becoming today? Uranus in your first house check-in, and the weekly way is to ground one collective vision, 11th house in personal action, first house energy, monthly speak or write despite your 12th house wound, right? The wound doesn't need you to heal it to teach, it just needs you to work on accepting it. Red flags that can come up for you over this time is identity crisis without direction, changing so fast you lose continuity, just moving too fast. So make sure you stay grounded and make slow and steady changes. Dissolving into the collective, losing yourself, which is, work with the collective, work with others, but do not lose yourself. And also you may use your Chiron wound to avoid speaking the truth as well, or not so much avoid, it can be hard to speak our pain, right? So just watch out for you feeling blocked in speaking up to whoever you can in a safe space, right? And just taking slow and steady steps to be all you need to be, and to create that safe space with those you can trust to speak your truth, and that safe space within yourself to acknowledge your truth, right? So the green lights for you is your identity changing in a coherent thread, in a way, step-by-step strategy, getting back up after each fall, and continuing with change and revolutionary self-serving change that also serves the collective in a wise way, not in a codependent way, teaching from the wound, not despite it, a grounding, awakening, and a lightning in the garden. So the Sabin symbology reminding you to teach and shine where you are and not escape from the garden for lightening, not escape your day-to-day reality, but learn to shine and to live in it with your wounds, and progress in the way that you want to progress as well. So for Gemini, Sun, Moon and Rising, Jupiter is in your second house of resources, values, self-worth, and it allows you to grow your material foundation. So in terms of your possessions, money, and just your sense of belonging within yourself as well. All 5 Jupiter aspects reorganize how you resource yourself, and the square to Chiron in Aries in your 11th house allows you to grow and confront your wound in line with being in reality and being in the world, right? You want to belong to groups that value you, but remember they can't heal the wound. That's work that you have to do. And the trine to Neptune in Pisces in your 10th house of career allows you to grow your resources naturally and ground your career in the mystic, in the spiritual, in the psychological, right? right? And the opposition to Pluto in your 8th house shows that your resources oppose said resources and power dynamics. So you're really wanting to take an individual stance during this cosmic storm and rethink, the things you share with others, and not in a miserly way, not in a mean way, but, to be an individual and to have some control over your own resources. Or for some of you, you just be looking into how you share resources and with others and the power dynamics in your relationships and thinking about how you can bring more balance into those. Also, any conflict with money at this time can expose power patterns in relationships, and Uranus in Taurus in your 12th house of unconscious, spiritual retreat and isolation revolutionizes, changes your relationship with alone time, your spiritual practice and unconscious sort of like material, so dreams, visions, the unknown. Some of you may experience a sudden spiritual awakening, may feel unexpected isolation, may find innovative ideas while you spend some time in solitude alone. So this can be really beneficial for you to solve problems, spending some time out, taking a distance, going for a walk, especially in places you don't usually go. And the sextile to Neptune allows you and supports this isolated spiritual work or psychological and emotional work as well, allowing you to work, publicly in a way where, taking some time out to go into your spiritual world can help you bring your vision back and, kind of like rejuvenate, refresh your public professional career, allowing you to make some progress. Or maybe you may decide to make plans to change your career, and the trine to Pluto allows your unconsciousness to flow with transformation, especially when it comes to said power and being intimate with yourself and others. And Neptune in Pisces in your 10th house of career again allows you to dissolve professional boundaries, increases your spiritual career calling. So some of you may actually think, pivot more towards the caring, healing professions, but you have to stay grounded in your vision. Make sure you look at courses, make a plan, look at finances. The aviator symbology in your 10th house needs landing in material, practical, day-to-day reality. So your goals, your dreams need to have a plan. And all Neptune aspects ask, can your public role embody, live spiritual vision without losing earth, without losing your grounding, right? So, being open to the spiritual in a grounded way. And Pluto in Capricorn in your 8th house provides that grounding, right? Allowing you to transform how you share and distribute power in relationships, use your own power, empower yourself, how you share money and how you express yourself in sexual relationships, right? Especially sexual relationships with your relationship with yourself. And the trine to Uranus allows and supports this intimate transformation, especially in a way that's, aligned with your spiritual changes and goals. And the sextile to Neptune allows your sense of power in relationship to work well with your career if you trust the connection. And the opposition to Jupiter in your 2nd house of said resources opposes your personal resources. So it wants you to negotiate how you say, this is my money, or this is my, possession, and this is yours, what you share with others and what you keep to yourself as well. But don't abandon, negotiate, set boundaries. Chiron in Aries in your 11th house of groups, networks and collective, again, souls that wounds with your relationship with community can, sew up. The I don't belong in groups wound meets Jupiter's desire for material validation from the collective. But the square to Jupiter in your 2nd house shows that seeking worth through group approval can activate the wound and make it worse. So it's important to find that value from within, and remember that your worth isn't determined by whether community sees it. It should be from within and something that you give to yourself and can create for yourself, right? So you may feel this energy in your hands, your arms, your lungs, the areas where Gemini rules in your body, and this can signal stress that you need to work through as well. And you may also feel it in your adrenals, the 12th house unconscious. You can get exhausted from a lot of spiritual and philosophical work, so make sure you take some time out to relax and just chill out, and stay grounded. Do things to ground yourself in earth. Take walks in nature, listen to nature music, take your time. Do not rush transformation. You may also feel it in your solar plexus when said power dynamics trigger your wound, right? So practices before spending money to feel valued. Ask, am I purchasing, buying worth that I already have? And also track your spending. Also ask, does your career vision also, is it grounded in resources, second-hand stuff? Are you balanced there, or is it floating? And 12th house spiritual insight grounded in your second house material form weekly. So making sure that you ground any sort of spiritual awareness with practical changes to your day-to-day habits. Red flags for you during this time would be resource chaos, not having enough money, not having enough time and energy from ungrounded vision. So make sure you look after the needs of the body with exercise and food, and mind with meditation, self-exploration, inner child work, shadow work, and all of that as well. And making a plan and using career mysticism to bypass practical building, so just having ideas without putting any of them into practical action. Also, red flags can include power struggles that you face in intimate life that's been swept under the rug, unexamined. Make sure you examine what needs to be examined, right? And you may also use your 11th house wound to avoid community. And the green lights is material stability, support in your spiritual career, intimacy, power negotiated consciously, how you be intimate and who has the power in any intimate relationship, or how you feel empowered to be intimate with yourself. Negotiate all of these consciously, having alone time as well, and allowing this to feed and improve your public work, and to be self-assured from within, sourced internally, not from group validation, that's Gemini. For Cancer, Sun, Moon and Rising, Jupiter in Cancer is in your first house of identity, body, presence. It is your primary activator for growth within yourself, right? And to be more optimistic in life and in yourself. You can become more of yourself during this cosmic storm. All 5 Jupiter aspects reorganize your identity and support changes in your self-expression, right? And the square to Chiron in Aries, the 10th house of identity and growth, confronts your professional wounds. You may want career success to validate existence, but it can't heal the wound of being that has to come from within, with your self-understanding and acceptance, right? And the square to Chiron in Aries to your 10th house of career, identity, growth, confronts your professional wounds. So you may want career success to validate your existence, but it can't heal the wound of being. And the trine to Neptune in Pisces in your 9th house allows your identity growth to flow naturally into spiritual, philosophical expression and teaching. And the opposition to Pluto in Capricorn in your 7th house of partnership allows you to want to really grow, but this need for growth can oppose your partner's power or partnership structure itself. So it can be tension in your relationship because you or someone else in your relationship may want to go, so you can grow, and someone may resist, or the relationship it must transform, right? Because of course, you shouldn't stop your growth. You shouldn't allow someone to resist you. If someone else wants to change, you shouldn't resist them. So relationships can really transform for you during this time of the cosmic storm. Cancer and Uranus in the 11th house of groups, networks, collective, can revolutionize how you interact with community and in your friendship groups, and how you, get involved with collective movements movements, right? So there can be sudden group changes, unexpected alliances, new friendships, new, partnerships, and innovative change in how you work with others and collaborate. And the Sextile to Neptune in your 9th house brings and supports the community changes, right? Allowing you to bring more spiritual awareness and psychological and emotional awareness into your life as well, and your group, the things you do in groups. And the trine to Pluto in your 7th house allows the group to transform and partnership to transform, so helping you to have those partnership power shifts, helping you to not resist other people's change and other people not resist your change as well. So this is really good. And Neptune in Pisces in your 9th house of beliefs, travel, teaching and higher learning allows you to be more flexible to others' ideas and, spiritual ideas, and you may, go more for higher learning and seeking out spiritual solutions to your problem, but you have to stay grounded in their wisdom, right? Make sure you make a plan, check all sources, make sure it's coming from like a good source, and remember that the mystic teacher who must land vision in a cerebral form, so you must be able to teach or to practically live whatever it is you learn during this time. And all Neptune aspect asks, can you teach transcendence, truth, whilst maintaining your own personal identity? Jupiter in your 1st house, right? And Pluto in Capricorn in your 7th house of partnership, marriage, one-to-one relationships, right? Allows you to transform relationship power, allowing you to go through death, letting go and rebirth, newness in relationships as well, composting, letting go of old relationship routines and structures that no longer serve, right? And the trine to Uranus allows your partnership transformation to flow with community growth, and the Sextile to Neptune in your 9th house allows your relationship with power to work with spiritual teaching if you trust the depth, right? And the opposition to Jupiter in your 1st house shows that, your partner may opposes your need for growth, as I said earlier, but the partnership demands that you allow each identity to be expressed, right? As both are valid, so it's important to negotiate rather than to break, but some of you may break up or have a temporary break as well, so just watch out for that. Be gentle with yourself, self-care, try to practice active listening, right? And Chiron in Aries in the 10th house of career, public role and life direction shows, that wounds around your professional identity can really, be intense. The I don't deserve this position wound, meeting Jupiter's need for growth. And the square to Jupiter from Chiron, wants you to become more yourself. And this can trigger you feeling professionally inadequate, not enough. So it's teaching you to, think about what success means to you, to go after that success, in a balanced way, and to know that you are enough. And if you don't have the skills professionally, you can go and learn them, whether it be academic course or teaching yourself through books or videos and podcasts or whatever, right? And in terms of where you feel this in your body, your chest, your breast, your stomach, the cancer areas of your body that hold emotion, your jaw, when your womb blocks your professional voice, your heart when identity, partnership, opposition is activated, and your gut when spiritual teaching feels ungrounded, right? So, watch out for these signs. And in terms of practices you can do daily check-ins like who am I today, Jupiter in the 1st house. And in terms of weekly practices, you can ask yourself, does your partner support your growth or resist it? Do you support your partner's growth or resist it, and why? And what's your part in your relationship dynamic? What's their roles? Maybe having conversations about being more balanced and flexible with roles. So in terms of the monthly teaching, teach month thing, 9th house energy despite feeling professionally inadequate, right? And the red flags for you to watch out for is for you, just growing and not respecting the boundaries of the relationship, or asking or having a conversation about it at least, because this can crush growth in your partnership and lead to the separation, Also, so it's important to just make sure that, you talk about you and your partner's needs and find a way to make it work, or, come to a mutual decision to let go. In terms of, other red flags, you can use your Chiron moon to avoid professional visibility. And yeah, it can be scary to put yourself out there, but for you, the cosmic storm is saying, to fill the wound and put yourself out there, in spite of it, right? You can also feel spiritually ungrounded, sacrificing yourself for relationships, or, sort of like giving up your relationship with yourself without negotiation, so it's important to find a balance between meeting your needs and the needs of relationship, and making sure that everyone's needs are met, as well as the needs of the relationship itself, because when we're in partnership, we have the relationship with ourselves, and the other person has the relationship with themselves, and the relationship you're having with each other, right? The green lights during this time is growth and partnership both being honoured in a balanced way, your career wound being witnessed and expressed without collapsing, you hiding, right, and allowing yourself to be visible, and teaching how to be, or learning how to be grounded in your experience, and supporting individual growth, and being around those who support, being around communities who support your individual growth as well. Okay, so for Leo, Sun, Moon and Rising, Jupiter in Cancer in your 12th house of unconsciousness, spirituality, isolation, is expanding your hidden life, spiritual practice, alone time, unconscious material and growth that can happen in private. All 5 Jupiter aspects work invisibly before manifesting. The square to Chiron in your 9th house of spiritual growth confronts your philosophical wounds, your belief system wounds, any uncertainty you have there. And the trine to Neptune in Pisces in your 8th house allows your private spiritual practice to flow and grow naturally, and for you to transform how you view and express intimacy. So the opposition to Pluto and Capricorn in your 6th house, so that spiritual retreat I just explained, you're being more open to your private spiritual practice, and it flowing naturally is being opposed by daily work demands. So you have to remember that both are necessary for your grounding, for your wellness. So you have to negotiate and find balance between expressing your needs for, meeting the needs of your daily work demands and other daily needs, and taking time out to look after your emotional, psychological and spiritual needs as well. And Uranus in Taurus in your 10th house of career, public role, life direction, changes your professional identity, public standing, your life purpose. You can experience sudden changes in your career, and you can just be more visible unexpectedly, getting praise in your profession. You can change the way that you lead at work or in your life in general. And the sextile to Neptune in your 8th house allows your, you being able to make changes in your career and work with others, especially the need to change your intimate relationship, or how you view intimacy with yourself can really, be balanced if you're open to working with the depths of your intimacy and, changes in your career as well. And the trine to Pluto in your 6th house allows you to make professional changes and allow it to flow, these changes to flow with your day-to-day life if you're open to being honest. And Neptune in Pisces in your 8th house as well allows you to increase your psychic intimacy, being open to matters such as life after death, how to be more spiritually open or to continue that work. And it allows you, and it also needs you to become more grounded in your sexual expression and energy. So, this is a really good one for those who want to be the mystic in the bedroom, Leo. It allows you to bring spirituality into your relationship and to share this spiritual power. And Neptune is asking, can you maintain yourself while merging in intimacy with others? And Pluto in Capricorn supports this, supports you to transform how you work, what you serve, what you believe in, allows you to work and see your body as a temple, paying attention to what you do with it, what you put in it and stuff. And also, making changes to your day-to-day life as well. And it allows you to let go of old, outdated routines and expressions of yourself, letting go of the things that drain you rather than sustain and nourish you. And the trine to Uranus allows this, letting go, especially in your career changes. And the sextile to Neptune allows you to serve others in a way that works with your need for intimacy. If you can trust the need to serve and to also be more intimate in bounded ways. And the opposition to Jupiter, it's going to force you to have to be flexible with, meeting your spiritual needs and your day-to-day practical needs as well. But it's going to bring tension to this area, but you've got other energy that's going to help you ground in that and to do that as well. So you just have to make the right plans and, take time out to meet your needs as well. So the square to Jupiter can also trigger the teaching wound, especially when it comes to your spiritual ideas and expressing them. So every time that you go into this deep wisdom privately, 12th house energy, the wound says, but you can't teach this publicly, you have to hide this, right? So it's important to not be scared of your spiritual ideas and to express them, but only the ones that you feel that you need to share with others. Of course, keep some, the ones that are just for you, to yourself, that are personal to you. In terms of where you will feel this in your body, your heart, your spine, upper back, the Leo areas that carry stress. You may also feel burnt out from lack of rest because of the 6th house, 12th house imbalance, the need to be more spiritually open and the need to meet your day-to-day routine as well. And, also in your gut, where you may feel any attempt to not speak your spiritual truth and spiritual bypass here as well. So in terms of practices, daily, honor your 12th house alone time. This is non-negotiable. Weekly, does your career change align with your daily work and, responsibilities, or do they create a split? And how can you bring balance between, the needs for changes in your career and your needs to meet your day-to-day commitments, right? Monthly, share 12th house wisdom publicly, despite your teaching wound. In terms of red flags, watch out for work, getting in the way of your spiritual life, intimacy boundaries that you dissolve dangerously, so being reckless in who you share intimacy with, or not taking the right precautions with any kinks or anything like that that you may have, just make sure you take the proper precautions while doing any activity. And also, using the Chiron wound to avoid teaching, so be open to learning and sharing. The green lights for you are, doing work that sustain, give you energy, and not, staying away from the work that drains it. Spiritual practices that are grounded in daily ritual, intimacy, with the right boundaries, teaching from the wound, not waiting for the wound to heal first, being centered in yourself. For Virgo, Sun, Moon and Rising, Jupiter is in Cancer in your 11th house of groups, networks, collective and long-term goals. It allows you to grow and expand how you take part in collective activities, in friendship and social involvement, and how you share your future goals and vision. So all 5 Jupiter aspects reorganize the relationship with the collective. The square to Chiron in Aries allows you to, want to sort of like experience time in groups that provide you with depth, and they can also trigger the wound of I don't deserve closeness, I don't deserve intimacy. It wants you to confront that intimacy wound. And the trine to Neptune in Pisces, your 7th house, allows your collective vision to flow naturally with partnerships, so allowing you to work with your spiritual energy and psychological and emotional needs, especially if you ground a relationship mystically, or be open to spiritual awareness in the relationship, or deepening your psychological and emotional bond. The opposition to Pluto and Capricorn in your 5th house adds to the group tension. You'll need to participate and share with groups, right, can sort of get in the way of your creative self-expression. So it's important to find balance and negotiate both, and to do both, right? Spend time with others, but also express yourself creatively as well. And Uranus in Taurus in your 9th house revolutionize your philosophy, your teaching style, and your relationship with truth and higher learning. So you can have sudden shifts in your worldview, unexpected teaching opportunities as well, and changes in the way you express and say wisdom as well. You can have a deeper relationship with truth, and this can help you work with others, especially if you share the same belief systems of others as well. It can bring revolutions to your philosophical expression and group work as well. And the trine to Pluto in your 5th house allows you to teach change and be open to change, and to also have that need for teaching and change flow with your creative power, and for you to sort of like enter a rebirth in how you express yourself creatively, right? And Neptune in Pisces in your 7th house of partnerships allows you to let go, dissolve relationship boundaries, increase your spiritual partnership, and allows you to ground in your intimacy with yourself and others. So it's sort of like the relationship mystic energy who must land in real relating. So it's asking you, can you really relate with others on a one-to-one level, in a grounded way where everyone's needs are met, and can you meet your own needs as well while doing that? And can you have a transcendent connection while maintaining yourself, basically? So Pluto in Capricorn in your 5th house transforms your creative power, how you, end things, how you experience depth of things, and how you begin new things and experience rebirth, especially in how you play and create. And it wants you to compost, let go of performance anxiety, and to allow yourself to experience change in your belief system, and to allow your creativity to, flow. And the trine to Uranus supports this, and the sextile to Neptune allows you to work with others whilst you are in deep creative play and expression. But the opposition to Jupiter reminds you that your creative needs can get in the way of group demands, and both are valid, so you need to find a balance between them rather than giving up one or the other as well. Chiron in Aries really puts the spotlight on the wounds that you have around relating deeply with others, expressing and being empowered in intimacy, and being vulnerable in closeness with others, right? And the square to Jupiter allows groups to feel safer if you are allowed, or if you find a way to express this depth and this intimacy, and to be close with others as well. And it brings to your attention that wounds need intimacy to heal, not to just get lost in the group, or get lost in the group needs to substitute the healing of your wounds, right? So where you feel this in your body will be your gut or intestines. This is the areas where Virgo rules, right? So you may have, issues with digestion, and this is telling you, showing you, that you need to work more with, your wounds with being intimate and vulnerable as well. Also, you may feel it in your heart when partnership boundaries dissolve dangerously, and your throat when your teaching voice gets blocked, right? So it's important to speak your truth, pay attention, eat things that aid your digestion, pay attention to what you say and how you feel. In terms of your practices daily, tell the difference between group connection and intimacy. Know which you need. Know when you need to mix with the group and when you need a more deeper connection, a more closeness, rather than the surface level, talk that can go in groups, and social situations, and for you to, mingle and take part in both. Take time out with group connections, but also, allow yourself to go down into that intimate depths, Virgo. And weekly, in terms of practices, ask yourself, does the partnership vision ground in reality or stay a fantasy? And monthly, create something without the need for group approval, right? In terms of red flags, you watch out for using groups to avoid intimacy, partnership fantasy, and being ungrounded, right? Not having the right safe words and stuff like that. Watch out for your creative expression being blocked by collective opinion. Teaching revolution is unintegrated with daily life, so watch out for that in terms of green lights, intimate relationships, and being open and accepted despite wounds, and partnership with appropriate boundaries, and your creative power being reclaimed, and you're feeling sort of like empowered, and you have less performance anxiety, and you live your belief system rather than just saying it, right? You live it in your day-to-day actions, and you feel safe in expressing that, right? So for Libra, Sun, Moon and Rising, Jupiter and Cancer in your 10th house of career, public role and life direction is expanding your professional identity, public standing and visibility of life purpose. And all 5, Jupiter aspects reorganize your career. So the square to Chiron in Aries confronts your partnership wound. You may want professional success while carrying the I don't deserve relationship wound, and this can create a split between career or love, not both. So you have to find the balance between meeting the needs of your career and your needs of love and intimacy. And the trine to Neptune in Pisces allows your career vision to flow naturally into daily work if you ground service. And the opposition to Pluto in Capricorn in terms of the 4th house shows that career demands can oppose home needs, but both are necessary and negotiation are required. And Uranus in Taurus is in the 8th house of intimacy. It wants you to change how you use your intimate power in relationships, and how you express yourself sexually, and how you relate with others on a deep level. So you may experience sudden intimacy changes, unexpected financial changes in how you allow yourself to be vulnerable. And the sextile to Neptune shows and allows intimacy revolution to happen if you can, collaborate with, your need to meet your daily commitments. The trine to Pluto allows intimate transformation to flow naturally with, changes that you will experience in your home, family and friendship relationship, especially in terms of, power imbalances. Power can change, be careful of how you use power during this time and how you allow others to use their power against you. Make sure it's balanced. And Neptune in Pisces allows you to dissolve work boundaries, increases, how you help others and yourself. And it wants you, and allows you to stay grounded in your daily practice, because Neptune energy can always make us want to escape into drugs and alcohol and doing things that are self-destructive. So watch out for that. So boundaries are important, even though, you know, it wants you to let go of the boundaries that are holding you back from being happy with your life, right? So think about a mystic servant who must structure spiritual work into a long-term routine. So this energy is asking, can you serve without dissolving, you know, losing yourself? You know, and assert your boundaries, keep your boundaries. And Pluto in Capricorn allows you to transform your domestic power, your family structures, and, you know, your generational patterns, especially how you express your emotions or do not express your emotions, right? Allowing you to compost, let go of inherited family dynamics, you know, and the trine to Uranus allows you to transform things in your home, especially in line with the ways that you want to change how you express and sow intimacy, right? So the sextile to Neptune allows, you know, your need for family power to become more balanced, to work in unison with your need to serve others as well, give back a little, if you can trust, you know, both of these needs within yourself, you know. And the opposition to Jupiter, you know, can bring opposition between, you know, the needs of your family or your home life or your external home, your emotions, right, your psychological, spiritual and emotional needs, and these can be opposed to the demands of your career right now. You know, things like the eternal working parent dilemma and all of the things that get in the way with your home life, right? So it's wanting you to find more of a balance there, or to get real about, you know, just get real on what is lacking there and why it's lacking and why it may have to keep lacking, because you may have to, you know, work so the family can be clothed and fed and stuff, so, which means unfortunately some other needs may, you know, go lacking. And this is not an excuse, and nor is it acceptable, but, you know, you can, well, not that it's not acceptable, but sometimes the best we can do is say this is the truth of the situation and try and do the best within it. If there's children involved, explain, you know, why you can't always be around, and make sure, you know, you put things in place where they still, you know, have boundaries and there is still the safe, you know, space, and there's still parenting going on, right? And Chiron in Aries brings your attention to wounds in relationships itself, such as I don't deserve partnership, or partnership requires abandoning myself, you know, getting real with Jupiter's need for career growth and expansion, and, you know, trying to meet the needs of yourself, you know, your self-expression, and looking after your emotional and spiritual needs, and your financial and physical needs, of course, as well as meeting the needs of career and, you know, paying bills and all of that as well. And the square to Jupiter shows that you can have success despite, you know, what your relationship wound is teaching you, right? Such as I don't deserve partnership, that, you know, you can live with this wound and still meet your needs in spite of this wound. So in terms of where you feel it in your body, you may feel it in your lower back, your kidneys. This is the areas where Libra rules and holds stress. In your sacral chakra, when intimacy, you know, your intimacy wound gets activated, and also in your gut when your home career split intensifies. In terms of daily practices to help you deal with this daily, you know, your career choice, ask, you know, does your career honor the needs of your home or only the needs of your professional ambition, and how you can bring balance between these, and do you want to bring balance between these, and are you willing to live with the consequences if you don't bring balance between these needs, right? In terms of weekly check-in with your needs of, you know, intimacy, are you relating or performing in your relationship? Do you have intimacy in your life? Do you avoid intimacy, and why? Monthly, you know, ask yourself how you can serve, give back to others without erasing yourself, having boundaries in the services that you give in your relationships, you know, which is very important. Do you have boundaries? Do you have too much boundaries? Just questioning how you can bring more balance in your boundaries and how you express and receive intimacy as well. In terms of the red flags for you guys to look out for, is your career consuming your home life, right? Partnerships the wound with your partnership, blocking, your expression of your intimacy. You're using service and being codependent, people pleasing, and sacrificing yourself without meeting your needs and burning out. Using relationships to avoid professional growth or vice versa. Green lights are career and home needs are negotiated and balanced consciously. You express intimacy with appropriate vulnerability. You create service with sustainable boundaries, and professional success doesn't require, you giving up yourself, and more importantly, sacrificing relationships, right? So for Scorpio, Sun, Moon and Rising, Jupiter and Cancer in your 9th house of beliefs, travel, teaching, higher learning and publishing, expands your belief system, how you think philosophically, your teaching abilities, your ability to study spiritual things, and publish things as well. So all 5 Jupiter aspects reorganize the relationship with truth and wisdom, and the square in Chiron in Aries in your 6th house, your teaching, expansion, and growth confronts your daily work wound. So, you may want to teach while carrying the my work isn't valuable wound, which can stop a lot of us from putting ourselves forward, and some of you, it can be just starting a YouTube channel, well not just, but starting a podcast, and putting yourself out there, your opinions, and remember it's about consistency, and the trine to Neptune in Pisces allows your belief system and philosophical vision to flow naturally with your creative expression. So good for starting that podcast, starting that painting, starting that project, starting whatever it is you want to do, right? But the opposition to Pluto and Capricorn in your 3rd house means that your need for higher teaching and understanding can get in the way of local communication, and wisdom can want a broad audience but start small. So it's putting the spotlight on starting small, not just thinking big, breaking down your goals into small day-to-day actions. You may also face some feedback and negative tension between people in your family, your immediate community, who may not like the things that you're saying as well. And Uranus in Taurus in your 7th house of partnership, marriage and one-to-one relating can bring changes to your relationship and partnership structures and how you relate to each other. So you can experience sudden changes in your relationships, unexpected partners, right? Maybe friends turning into lovers, stuff like that. Being more innovative in how you relate to others, maybe going into a throuple, things like that. Looking at alternative ways of intimacy, and the Sextile to Neptune, shows that changes in your relationship can work with your creative spiritual practice and needs, and the trine to Pluto allows partnership changes to flow with how your communication grows and evolves, right? So supporting you speaking out, maybe starting or continuing that podcast or YouTube channel, whatever it is. And Neptune in Pisces in your 5th house of creativity, children, play, romance and self-expression, dissolves boundaries, especially, your creative ones, increases your spiritual play, and requires grounded self-expression to use this energy, in a balanced way. So, taking time out, speaking the truth, being open to newness. The creative mystic who must make art from vision, from your own ideas, being open to working with your dreams and work, putting yourself out there. It allows you to do that in a grounded way, making plans, making strategies, making time to express yourself. And it's asking you, can you create without performing for love, or losing your intensity, right? And Pluto in Capricorn transforms how you use your voice right now, how you think and speak, and your relationship with words and your mental structures and thought processes can change, be composted into newness, and you may let go of inherited communication patterns from your nations, from your families, and go into your true self-expression right now. And the trine to Uranus allows you to transform your communication and flow with the changes in your relationships. And the sextile to Neptune allows, supports your communication, you becoming empowered in your communication and allowing that to work with your creative vision and expression if you're willing and able to trust your own voice. But the opposition to Jupiter brings that tension from local communication that can oppose your higher teaching, right? Remember to start small before going big, right? So day-to-day steps. And Chiron in Aries, brings up the wound around your work, sense of daily service, your ability to serve others, and, to view your body as a temple, especially when you're in your relationship, looking after your body's needs for balanced nutrition, and then the needs of your mind and body and soul for expression and for inner work and shadow work, right? And the square to Jupiter triggers, your work value wound. So, it's saying, yes, you can teach wisdom, but the wound may say your daily work doesn't matter. So yeah, your day-to-day work may not matter. It may just be something that helps you pay the bills, right? And that voice may say, you may need to do more meaningful work for you. But, also watch that as well, think about, instead of giving up your day-to-day job, for some of you it'd be, taking time out for your creative expression, because your day-to-day job may enable you to be creative, so not to just get crazy and say, no, I don't have no meaning in my day-to-day work, I'm going to give it up. Just, getting real about what in your life serves, your day-to-day work may serve, allow you to go on holidays, be creative, So, although the voice may say your daily work doesn't matter, for some of you it may mean giving it up and doing something that matters, but it may be for some of you just getting real and being like, yeah, it doesn't matter, it has no meaning, but it helps me express meaning in other areas of my life. So in terms of your body, you can feel this in your genitals and reproductive organs, because Scorpio rules these, and any sort of conflict there can signal that you're going through changes, transformation. You can feel it in your gut when you speak up for yourself, and in your throat when communication power activates, and in your heart when your creative boundaries dissolve. In terms of practices, day to day, speak one truth that scares you weekly. Ask, is your teaching vision grounded in your day-to-day work, or stay embodied, right? So, it's asking you, maybe you have to still do your day-to-day job, to pay the bills, but how can you bring your true self into it more as well, whilst also respecting the rules of the organization and stuff that you live in, taking, even if it's not expressing yourself at work in the fullness, taking time out within your day when you're at home and you commute to be your full self. Red flags during this time is teaching ungrounded in lived experience. So, make sure you do things to ground yourself, make the plans, and, don't just leave things in theory, practice them. Relationship change can destroy the partnership. So again, this is not saying don't change. It's not saying that. It's saying make sure everyone's needs are respected and met, and you have the conversations you need to, successfully live that change that you want in your relationship. Also, watch out for creative expression only happening when you receive praise. It wants you to, express yourself regardless of what other people say, and using your work wound to avoid being visible, right? Keeping yourself small. Watch out for that, Remember, start small and go big, learn the basics first. Green lights your experience during this time is teaching from daily practice, not theory. Partnerships that grow in consciousness and its mutual growth, right? And creativity for creation's sake, just creating for the sake of it, not for seeking validation or love. And communication from a power stance rather than staying quiet, reclaiming your power from silence, speaking your truth, right? So for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon and Rising, Jupiter in Cancer in your 8th house expands depth in relationships, shared money, and your your ability to change and express yourself sexually. So all 5 Jupiter aspects reorganize power in intimacy, and the square to Chiron in Aries allows you to grow in your intimate relationship and confront your creative wound. So you may want a deep connection while carrying the my creative self isn't lovable wound. And the trine to Neptune in Pisces in the 4th house, allows your intimacy vision, your needs for intimacy to flow in your home and family. So this is really good for repairing relationships, right? But the opposition to Pluto in Capricorn in your 2nd house of said resources opposes your personal resources. So it's basically, bringing that power struggle. You're going to struggle with the power, or you're going to negotiate to make sure everybody's needs are met, and it allows you to do so, though, which is going to bring tension to those areas for you to sort out, right? And Uranus in Taurus changes how you work, what you serve, and how you look after the needs of your body, and how you go about your daily routine and structure, right? So you can have sudden changes in work, unexpected health awareness, being more health conscious, looking after the needs of your mind, body and soul. You can become more innovative in the ways that you serve others, and the sextile to Neptune allows you to face revolution and allows you to work to bring changes in your work, but also these changes can collaborate with your home, the needs of your home and your spiritual needs. And the trine to Pluto allows for you to transform your day-to-day routine and to sort of like change how you use your resources, your money and time, and how you use your possessions, right? So Neptune in Pisces dissolves your domestic boundaries and increases your ancestral family spiritual connections, but it requires you to be grounded in your emotions, to be open to working with your emotions and psychological needs. So it's reminding you that the family mystic must also have a structure and a spiritual home within, and it's asking, can you have an emotional foundation while maintaining freedom? And Pluto in Capricorn allows you to transform your material life, your money, your relationship with money and how you use money in your relationships, what you value, and how you gain validation for your sense of self. So, asking you, allowing you to build that sense of self from within, because external validation can come and go and it can be unstable, right? So to build that stable foundation of self-worth from within, so it allows you to let go of inherited worth systems of seeking approval from others. And the trine to Uranus allows your changes in your resources, how you use them, and how you bring changes in how you work in your career as well. And the sextile to Neptune allows your material power to work with the needs of your family, if you trust both of these needs and meet the requirements of these, to build your material power, if that's what you want to do, and getting real on what material power means to you, financial power, power in your possessions and time and energy and all of that, and allowing it to work with going deep and having that deep intimate connection in your family relationships. But the opposition to Jupiter needs you to sort of because how you view your money and said money can be in opposition right now. So you're going to have to negotiate financial power consciously in your relationship, making boundaries between what is yours and what is others, right? And Chiron in Aries, brings wounds around your creative expression, how you relate in romantic relationship, how you play in life, how you be creative, right? And how you experience childlike joy. And the square to Jupiter can trigger the wound with your creative self, and you may say, my creative self doesn't deserve love. So explore why you feel that, right, and deal with those wounds in terms of where you feel it in your body. Your hips, thighs and liver, these are the areas that Sagittarius rules and hold stress. And your sacral sort of area, when intimacy power gets activated, you may feel sort of tension there and uncomfortableness. So explore that. You may feel intention in your gut, when your resources, your money, your time change, right? And in your adrenals, when the work without rest pattern comes up. So it's important to take time out to resist burnout, right? And in terms of practices, daily check your resources, like, am I valuing myself or seeking worth through other people's money? Weekly, ask, does my work sustain energy or drain my energy? And monthly, create and play without needing relationship validation. Take time out to have fun with yourself, in terms of red flags, intimacy, consuming your identity, so getting too lost in your intimate relationship without taking care of your individual needs, sacrificing your needs for work too much, your home boundaries being dissolved dangerously, not taking care of your own needs to meet others' needs. Watch out for that. You've got to find balance, and using creative words to avoid romantic risks as well. Green lights is sharing power consciously and negotiating how power is used, right? Your work, your career, serving your life and not draining your life. Your home is a sanctuary with appropriate boundaries and creative expression, despite the wound of you feeling like your creativity doesn't deserve expression and the love, and so expressing your creative self without waiting for the wound to heal first, right? So for Capricorn, Sun, Moon and Rising, Jupiter in Cancer, right, expand your relationship, partnership potential and one-on-one depths in your relationship. So all 5 aspects recognize how you partner, relate to others, right? So the square to Chiron in Aries, is about your partnership growth, and it wants you to confront the home wound. Maybe, some of you are carrying wanting a relationship while carrying the I don't deserve a relationship or to have a home or to belong, right, wound. And this creates the need to seek a partner to provide emotional foundation that they cannot give, because it comes from within. You have to provide that for yourself. You have to have that sense of belonging from within, right? So the trine to Neptune in Pisces allows partnership vision to flow naturally into communication if you speak truth, and the opposition to Pluto in Capricorn brings an opposition between your partner's needs and power and your identity needs and power needs, right? So, it's important to recognize that both needs, everybody's needs in the relationship are valid, and it's important to negotiate and have talks, right? And Uranus in Taurus revolutionizes your creative power and your ability to play and be romantic and express yourself. So you may have a sudden awakening, unexpected changes in your romantic life, right? Becoming more innovative in how you be creative and play. And the sextile to Neptune allows you to be more creative, bringing a revolution in this area that can work well with your spiritual communication. And the trine to Pluto supports this creative transformation and allows it to flow with your changes in your identity expression. And Neptune in Pisces dissolves communication boundaries, increasing your intuitive spiritual seeking, and brings grounding to your voice. And the mystic communicator, basically, who must structure vision into words, is what you have to become. So can you speak transcendent truth while maintaining authority and being grounded, right? And Pluto in Capricorn wants you to transform at the root level, right? At the depths of your being, right? Allowing, who you think you are to experience the depth, so who you really are can go through a rebirth, right? And to let go of your false identity. And the trine to Uranus allows you to make this change to your identity and allows it to flow with your creative changes as well. And the sextile to Neptune also supports, your identity power, allowing it to work with your communication vision if you trust your voice and your needs. But the opposition to Jupiter, your needs can oppose your getting in the way of your partner's needs, and there can be conflict. So it's important that you negotiate the eternal me versus we negotiation, having the talks, making sure everyone's needs are met right. And Chiron in Aries, brings up wounds with your sense of self and belonging and emotional safety, and wounds with your emotional foundation within, so it's important that you deal with your emotions and not bury them, and be open to emotional change. And the square to Jupiter, triggers your home wounds, and it can, brings to your attention once again the ways that you look to a partner to provide belonging, which must be built internally first, right? So it's important to think about your needs and how you can meet your own needs, right? In terms of your body, you may feel this in your bones, your knees and your teeth. This is the areas where Capricorn rules, right? And sacral chakra, when your creative power activates, and your throat, when your spiritual voice emerges, and solar plexus, when your identity, partnership, opposition intensify. So pay attention to these areas of your body and look after them right. In terms of practices, daily check in with yourself, asking, who am I today? Weekly, ask yourself, am I relating or performing? Am I really in relationship with others, or just performing being in relationship? And how can I solve this, right? And communicate one's spiritual knowing despite you being uncertain about your spirituality, right? In terms of red flags to look out for, your partnership consuming your whole identity and you ignoring your own needs, right? Using your home wounds to avoid belonging, fear blocking your creative expression, and your identity transformation being ungrounding. So make sure you do things to ground yourself, take time out to rest, to research, to be gentle with yourself and others. The green lights that you can experience is that your identity and partnership needs are negotiated consciously, your creative power is reclaimed, your communication is grounded in spiritual truth, and your home wounds being witnessed, and you're holding space for them without you needing a relationship to heal them for you. You heal them yourself. So for Aquarius, Sun, Moon and Rising, Jupiter in Cancer, brings your attention to your health and your awareness to daily routines. And all 5 Jupiter aspects recognize how you work and serve. And the square to Chiron in Aries, wants you to sort of confront your need to grow and how you communicate. So you may find yourself wanting, a meaningful way to serve others, and to relate to others while carrying my voice doesn't matter in my practical day-to-day reality wound. And the trine to Neptune in Pisces allows your work vision to flow naturally into resource manifestation if you ground yourself in spiritual service. So this is really good. If you're willing to take the practical actions, you can manifest what you need in your life right now. But the opposition to Pluto, means that the demands of your work can get in the way of your need for a spiritual retreat, and for you to sort of look after your spiritual needs, but both looking after your spiritual needs and working are necessary. So it's important to find balance between these. And Uranus in Taurus changes your domestic life, family structures, the home environment and your emotional base. So sudden home changes and unexpected family shifts, in how you communicate can happen, as well as being innovative in how you look after your domestic needs as well. So, looking after your home base, your home environment, and the sextile to Neptune allows changes in your home to happen and work well with how you use your spiritual resources. And the trine to Pluto supports family transformation, working in alignment with you wanting to work on how you view your unconscious, subconscious, and how you express yourself spiritually. And Neptune in Pisces, dissolves material boundaries, increases your spiritual relationship with money and your sense of worth, and it requires you to continue to build build a grounded value system. So what do you believe, right? And are they your beliefs, right? So your theme is the mystic who must pay rent. So Neptune aspects ask, can you maintain resources while serving the collective, right? And Pluto in Capricorn allows you to transform your spiritual life and your unconscious patterns and your relationship with solitude and hidden power, while also, paying the bills, allowing you to compost, let go of inherited spiritual programming. And the trine to Uranus supports spiritual transformation as well and allows it to work in unison with changes in your home. And the sextile to Neptune allows your unconscious power to work with, your changing resources to bring changes in how you view and use money and use your time and energy as well. But the opposition to Jupiter, can mean that your work demands conflict with your need for spiritual expression. So, you have to negotiate, you giving back to others and serving and taking time out to rest and to lean into your spirituality as well. And if you trust your depth and your vision, your unconscious power can work with your resource vision right now. And Chiron in Aries, centers around wounds with your voice, your daily thoughts, and how you, speak and think, especially in your sibling and other relationships and in your local neighborhood work relationships as well, and how these get in the way of your sense of belonging. The square to Jupiter triggers your communication wound. You can work meaningfully, but the wound says nobody hears you anyway. So this is when you may feel that you're not heard, so, work around being heard and feeling heard and, mixing with the right people who are willing, because some people just aren't willing to respect your boundaries and, to listen to you, and, more importantly, speak your truth anyway, because it's about speaking your truth, not speaking it so other people approve and giving yourself that approval you may be seeking from others. So in terms of your body, you can feel this in your calves, your ankles, your circulatory system, areas where Aquarius rules, right? And this can signal stress, and your adrenals when work rest imbalance peaks, and your gut when your resource insecurity activates. You may have insecurity about your money and your time, so look after those, be aware of those, and find ways to soothe those or resolve those. And the third eye, when your spiritual practice deepens, right? So in terms of practices daily, have a resource check. Say, am I valuing myself and using my time, money, and other resources in a balanced way, productively? Or am I giving away my worth weekly? Ask yourself, am I getting enough rest? Is my work rest balance in check, right? Because both are necessary, so honor them both. And monthly, speak one truth despite your communication wound, of feeling unheard. So in terms of red flags, watch out for work consuming your spiritual life, home chaos from ungrounded change, and resource instability from spiritual bypassing. And make sure you speak your truth even if no one else is listening. In terms of green lights, work that sustains you and not drains you, home changes that are grounded and conscious, resources flowing from grounded spiritual practice, and reclaiming your voice despite your wounds, right? So for Pisces, Sun, Moon and Rising, Jupiter in Cancer expands your creative ability, playfulness, romantic possibility, self-expression, freedom, and you relating to children and your own inner child. And all 5 Jupiter aspects recognize your creative life, and the square from Chiron in Aries, allows you to grow creatively and to confront any wounds that you have with your resources, right? So it allows you to want to create abundantly while carrying I'm not worth material support, that wound, right? So the trine to Neptune in Pisces allows your creative vision to flow naturally into your self-expression, right? If you are willing to embody it and live it rather than just talk about it. And the opposition to Pluto in Capricorn brings opposition, tension between your need to be creative and the demands of group work relationships, right? So it's important that you honor both these needs and don't sacrifice either. And Uranus in Taurus can change how you think and speak, and you can experience sudden communication shifts, innovative thinking. And the Sextile to Neptune allows you to, allow communication changes to happen while you also change who you believe that you are, your sense of self, right? And the trine to Pluto supports your voice to change, for you to stand up for yourself, to be more empowered, as well as, experience changes in how the collective may use power against you and how collective power shifts in the world, in the nations, right? And Neptune in Pisces allows you to dissolve identity boundaries, making you aware that you are the mystic, the dissolver, the oceanic one, right? And you are asked, can you maintain boundaries, which is the Pisces challenge, whilst being boundaryless, which is the Pisces gift. And the aviator who must land without losing clouds and losing grounding, right? So make sure you do things to ground yourself. And Pluto in Capricorn transforms the way you participate in community events as well, and express yourself in friendship groups and go after your future goals. So it allows you to let go of toxic group dynamics, right? And the trine to Uranus supports collective transformation, allowing it to, flow naturally with the ways that you want to change the way you communicate, right? And the Sextile to Neptune allows community power to work well with your identity expression if you allow yourself to fully show up as who you are. And the opposition to Jupiter, again, shows that the group needs are in opposition to your creative needs, but it's important that you negotiate without abandoning either. And Chiron in Aries, wounds around your relationship with money, material security, self-esteem and resource sovereignty can come up, and it's important for you to feel independent while also, meeting group needs, but also building that sense of worth, self-worth and expressing esteem from within. And the square to Jupiter triggers your sense of worth, that wound, right? And it reminds you that you can create beauty, but the wound says you don't deserve to be paid for it, right? So it's important for you to realize that that you deserve to be paid and to gain material success for the things that you produce in the world, if that's what you want to do, right? So in terms of where you may feel this in your body, you may feel it in your feet and your lymph system, because this is where Pisces rules, right? And these signal boundary issues which must be resolved. You may also feel it in your solar plexus when the resource wound activates, or your throat when you speak your truth, or in your whole body, as a spiritual antenna that just picks up on discomfort, right? So it's important to pay attention to these signals. In terms of practices, daily check in with your boundaries, asking where do I end and where do others begin, which is, an essential practice. Weekly, make sure you express yourself creatively and ask yourself, am I creating or performing for love? Monthly, sell one creative offering despite your worth wound, it doesn't matter if it's just for a penny or for 1 cent, it's slowly building up that muscle to say, if you put in something out there, whether it's a healing service, creating art, music, whatever, you deserve some kind of financial reward or some other reward, for it, whatever is suiting to you. In terms of red flags, boundaries that dissolve dangerously, creative martyrdom, giving art away and never getting paid for it, the group activities consuming your identity, and using your resource wound to avoid material stability. In terms of green lights, boundaries maintained while staying open, right? So making sure you assert yourself, empower yourself, but are still open to newness and to working with others, you know. Creativity that is valued materially, your identity is grounded while you're being mystical, and, you know, engaging with others while still having your sense of self, right? So yeah, that's the end of the zodiac guidance. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about all the transits in depth, one by one, that are part of this cosmic storm of July 2026. So the first one is Jupiter square Chiron, and this is exact on the 2nd of July at 3:23 a.m. and Jupiter is in the 7th Sabian degree of Cancer in the Pusya Naksatra Pada 1, and Chiron's in the 7th Sabian degree of Aries, and that's in the Aswani Naksatra Pada 2. So a square in astrology is 90 degrees of separation, friction, tension, you know. The two planets cannot ignore each other, but they cannot work together either and harmonize. So Jupiter in Cancer, you know, wants to expand and grow emotionally, nurture abundantly, grow through feeling, family and home, and Chiron in Aries carries the wound of identity, of being, of I am, and the square forces, you know, us to grow, to confront the wound, you know, and sometimes we don't want to face our trauma because it can be hard, right? So this is not Jupiter trine Chiron where the growth heals easily, because trine, you know, make everything nice and easy, and it's also not Jupiter sextile Chiron where opportunity meets healing. This is a square. The wound resists the growth, you know, it's a resistance, right? The growth energy of Jupiter aggravates the wound, and Jupiter, the principle of growth, faith, meaning making, optimism, and, you know, going beyond our current limits. And Chiron is the wounded healer, you know, the unhealable wound, the wound that doesn't heal. No matter how much we want it to heal, we get triggered. The triggers we may get triggered less, you know, but sometimes, you know, pressure can just overtake us even if we are dealing with it and we're still triggered by it, you know. The place where traditional medicine fails, psychological help and that, and where we have to learn to live with what cannot be fixed. And Cancer is the sign of belonging, mothering, home, emotional safety, the breast that feeds or fails to feed, the nurturing and mothering principle, right? And Aries is the sign of selfhood, I am, identity, initiation, starting things, being, you know, and it says I am, and the wound says I'm not, right? And of course Aries wants to be I am. So, you know, Chiron in Aries, you know, Aries rules the head also in astrology, can bring tension, right? So we can overthink during this time. And the square, you know, as we kick off July 2026 is asking us, how do, you know, you expand, grow? Jupiter energy, when the wound of who you are, Chiron in Aries, meets the wound of whether you belong, you know, Jupiter in Cancer. So you may find yourself questioning your sense of belonging in your community, in your family, in life, in your career, whatever it is. You may be uncertain with your self-expression. So this, you know, square brings that tension. And Jupiter in Pusya Naksatra Pada 1, ruled by Saturn, and the deity is Bashaparati, and this is the Naksatra of nourishment, teaching and structured routine and care. And for you native, you know, speakers out there, I am trying to pronounce the words properly, and I will keep on, you know, learning how to pronounce, and I'm doing my best. So yeah, so Jupiter in Pusya Naksatra, the cow's udder, you know, so the cow feeds the baby cows, nourishment flowing from one source to many, right? So Pusya Pada 1 is sub-ruled by the sun, so this adds authority to its teaching. So Jupiter here wants to nurture through wisdom. So it's calling you to, nurture yourself through, trying to understand yourself, to understand your wound, to know that you can live and progress with whatever the unhealable wound is for you. Some of you, it's childhood, things that happen there, or heartbreak or grief, and it wants you to feed yourself through knowledge and grow through proper teaching. So, going out there and finding sources that resonate with you, educating yourself so that you've got the tools to understand your wound and not beat yourself up so much when you are triggered. And of course, because this is a square, it's bringing tension, it's going to try and push you to do that. But of course, the storm of July doesn't happen on its own. We've also got Uranus sextile in Neptune, helping us to, change in sudden ways but grounded ways. It's nice energy. Then we've got Uranus is trying to Pluto, also helping us, transform, and then Jupiter's trying to Neptune, and Jupiter's opposition to Pluto, and the sextile Jupiter's making to Uranus. So of course, we've got a lot of energy that's helping us, sort of like expanding the Neptune sextile to Pluto, which is part of the magic triangle, which I'm going to mention a bit, but I'm going to do a separate audio on the magic triangle, so check that out because it's affecting us. For 3 years it's been affecting us from 2025. So yeah, the teaching of Pusha Sado can create dependency though, because the guru who keeps children, students infantilized, the guru what says I'm your guru, a guru or whatever is meant to be someone who's representative of a higher power than themselves. So they should be pushing us to go and make that one-to-one connection, helping us grow, right? So the shadow of this is, meeting people or falling into teachings, or, not allowing yourself to grow. Yes, love and nurture the inner child, but also nurture the adult you need to become as well. So Saturn ruling Pusha adds discipline to feeding, which can mean structured routine care that builds our ability to love and nurture ourselves, or rigid inflexible feeding that never lets us eat on our own and keeps us dependent and keeps us stuck in the place of the wound, right? So Jupiter expanding in Pusha Pada 1, the teacher priest who wants to grow the student, and the parent who feeds to empower, but when it's squared by Chiron in Aries, the wound of selfhood, this nourishment faces the question, am I feeding you or am I keeping you dependent so you never leave? So, looking at the relationships in your life and people in your life who keep you codependent, and how you keep other dependent on you as well, and why you may do that, right? Really questioning yourself there. So Chiron in Aswani Natsakra Pada 2. So Aswani is ruled by Ketu, and the deities, the Aswani Kumaras, the twin healers, physicians, and it is the Natsakra of healing, speed, initiation, and the first impulse to B, and Pada 2 is subruled by Venus, and this adds beauty and desire to the initiatory, the starting wound, the first wound, right? Of course, Ketu in Vedic astrology is the south node, right? So our past, our karma, and Ashwini's mythology, the twin doctors who heal what the gods cannot heal, right? And this is the first Natsakra, and this is pure Aries energy, right? Initiation, birth, the wound here is primal, the wound of coming into being, the wound of incarnation, the wound that says I should not have been born, I should not exist, I am wrong at the root, at my core, and sometimes a lot of us carry this root. We think innately there's something wrong with us because of maybe something in our childhood or some other rejection, right? So here the square is really wanting us to accept ourselves for who we are, warts and all, flaws and all. And Chiron, in Aswana Pada 2 carries the wound of selfhood, dressed in beauty, because Venus has the influence here, the wound that looks healed, the wound that performs wellness, and the Aswani Kumaras can heal others but not themselves, right? And the old saying, physician, heal yourself first, so learning to heal yourself before you try and heal others. And this is not saying be fully healed, but be acknowledging that we can, some things we can't heal, we're forever healing, forever becoming, but we should always be loving ourselves as we are, flaws and all. And Chiron in Aswani, the healer who cannot heal their own wound of being, is reminding us here that some wounds cannot be healed. The best we can do is to learn to live with them and to pick ourselves up after every fall. So we've got the number 7 here, numerology, with Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer in the 7th degree of Cancer, and Aries, and Chiron in Aries in the 7th degree, right? So we have, Cancer, the Sabian theme for that is 2 fairies dancing on a moonlit night, and the key word here is enchantment. So that sense of wonder, that childhood awe, right? So fairies are subtle beings, barely visible, and by logic they don't exist, right? We dismiss them with our rationality, while here the fairies are dancing in moonlight, feminine illumination, night vision energy. The subtle realm becomes visible when the sun, the ego conscious mind, sleeps, and magic is accessed through surrender to the night, to the darkness, to our shadow. And Jupiter in this degree, wanting us to expand, to grow through assessing what rationality dismisses as foolishness, right? To grow through the subtle realm, through the subconscious, by getting to know and understand what's there, because often we are driven by our unconscious minds, and especially the unhealed psychological, emotional and spiritual traumas that are there. So it's wanting us to have faith in what we cannot prove during this cosmic storm, right? The first aspect is telling us, to give into the wonder, to the enchantment, to the genuine magic of the simple things in life, like a seed growing into a tomato, and to think about the illusions that keep us from seeing what's real. And squared by Chiron in Aries, were being asked, can you grow into enchantment? When the wound says I should not exist. Can fairies dance when being itself is wounded? Can you give into the inner child, nurture that inner child, give into the subtleness of life, and be open to that wonder and delight, and to step by step nurture yourself into a new sense of being. So we've got Aries in the 7th degree, Sabian degree, and the Sabian and the Sabian symbology. Yeah, I'm still learning to speak, guys, as you know. So yeah, the 7th degree of Aries is a man successfully expressing himself in 2 realms at once. So this is multiplicity, the journeys of life, operating simultaneously in different dimensions, the physical and the spiritual, the conscious and the unconscious, the subconscious, the material and the mystical, not compartmentalization but integration, both, and the shaman's capacity. And Chiron in this degree, the wound of being in 2 realms at once, the wound of the bridge, the wounded healer who lives between worlds because they cannot fully inhabit either. 2 physical for the spiritual realm, 2 spiritual for the physical. So the multiplicity is not chosen integration, it's force, luminality. So in between us, right? The wound of never being fully anywhere. And squaring Jupiter in Cancer, at the 7th degree, enchantment, right? Your wound is that you are living between worlds, right? Your expansion growth wants to access the subtle realm, Cancer in the 7th degree, but can you dance with the fairies when you're too wounded to belong in either realm, right? So it's wanting us to, acknowledge that living on Earth is hard. We've got a lot of disasters going on, a lot of division, and, believing in things that you can't physically see can be even harder, especially from when a lot of us are tainted, because sometimes we've been forced into one religion or another as growing up, right, or brought up with no religion, so it can be hard to believe in something greater than ourselves, especially when it's organized. But the cosmic storm of July is wanting us, these transits that are happening, especially the Uranus trying Pluto and Neptune sextile Pluto, part of the magic triangle, what's ongoing for the next few years, is wanting us to come into our own, to not forget our religions and stuff like that, but to make that one connection to the divine ourselves, whatever you call the divine, right? Because humans can be flawed. So in terms of the psychological architecture, the meaning, this transit activates the wound of nourishment, meeting the wound of being, right? And Jupiter in Cancer wants us to grow through getting more connected with our psychological, spiritual and emotional side, and getting more in touch with our, whatever family means to you. So for some of you, it's your natal family, your birth earth family. For some of you, it's the family you choose for yourself, and to be open up to the breast that feeds in terms of the feminine energy, the nurturing, to give yourself self-care, love, forgiveness and acceptance. But as we know, every star sign has a negative, and Cancer can also be the mother who devours, who takes away and helicopter parent, or doesn't let the child grow, or the home that imprisons, or the belonging that requires you to abandon yourself. So Jupiter here wants you to grow through nurturing, but whose growth? Your growth, right? In contrast, are you gonna stay in the family systems that need you to be small, right? If you grow that dimension, right? So it's wanting you to choose a side. Are you going to grow for yourself, or keep yourself small to grow a family system that's outdated, or religion or nation and belief system that's outdated? And Chiron in Aries, carries the wound, as I said, that comes before, precedes all other wounds, the wound of existing. Before you can be wounded in a relationship, this is Libra energy, in power, Scorpio energy, or in meaning, Sagittarius 9th house, you must first be wounded in being, Aries first house stuff, who you are, your identity, the wound that says I should not be here, my existence is the problem. And the square between them is asking you, how do you expand emotionally when you are feeling that your very being, who you are, is wrong, right? How do you go through family and home when the wound says I do not belong in existence itself? This is the adoptee maybe who finds their birth family and still feels they don't belong. The child raised while who still carries the wound of I should not have been born, the person whose family nurtured them but who's always feel like they're fundamentally flawed, or the person who was neglected, and all the other wounds that we all have, right? So whatever the wound with resistance is, this Jupiter square is putting our attention, causing tension around that. And for each and every one of us, it works out differently, but Jupiter square Chiron doesn't heal the wound, right? It expands around it, it grows despite of it, it makes meaning from it. So it wants us to make meaning from our wounds. It's teaching us that we grow not by healing the unhealable, but by learning to nourish yourself. Jupiter in Cancer energy, even when being itself, Chiron in Aries, feels like a wound. And in terms of the collective dimension, this transit asks us as a society, how do we grow? Jupiter, when our fundamental identity, Chiron in Aries, is built on a wound. We have nations with national and wounded identities, cultures built on historical trauma, and the collective, we should not have been born, of colonized peoples maybe, the collective of we don't belong, of displaced refugees, and the expansion growth Jupiter that's supposed to heal that wound doesn't, but instead exposes the wound more clearly. And the square means growth will not bypass the wound, growth will confront it directly, and the optimism, Jupiter energy, will meet the place where traditional solutions fail, right? And in July 2026, whether the expansion narrative we're telling ourselves about, whether it's about recovery, about progress, about moving forward, will square up against the primal wound that we're carrying of not belonging, right? And as I said, this transit does not offer healing, it offers honest confrontation with ourselves, and how this manifests for individuals is attempting to grow new relationships, new job, expanding your life, and hitting the wound of I don't deserve this, imposter syndrome. In terms of family healing work that grows our understanding but doesn't fix the original wounds. Like sometimes we can forgive our parents or whoever hurt us, but the wound's still there, so it's learning to live with it and to accept it, right? And teaching and nurturing others while we're still carrying the wound of our own being, teaching others to love themselves as well, and as we teach ourselves to love ourselves, and optimism meeting the place where faith cannot reach, so we can have battles with that, remaining optimistic when we just can't find a way out, feeling unable to grow. But ultimately this wound wants us to be honest, like I've got a problem with that, but I'm going to choose to have faith and optimism anyway. In terms of collectively, we can have economic policies that confront identity wounds in our culture, growth initiatives revealing fundamental and foundational trauma, and attempts to nurture and heal the collective, hitting the unhealable wound, a lot of peace agreements, got a lot of tension in the world going on now, so there can be attempts to heal that rift, right? And we can also see an increase in national identity crisis during periods of supposed growth, which we have been seeing, right? We can sometimes feel at odds with the culture and the nations that we live in, right? And have crisis over immigration and other policies or war policies that our countries involved in, right? So the wound of Chiron is unhealable, but Jupiter square doesn't ask for healing. It asks, can you grow anyway in midst of all the craziness that's going on within you, within the world? Can you grow around the wound? Can you make meaning from what cannot be fixed? And this is the teaching of Jupiter square Chiron. Okay, so transit 2 is Uranus' sextile to Neptune, and this is exact on the 15th of July 2026 at 9:31 p.m. And Uranus is in the 11th Sabine degree of Taurus, and Neptune's in the 11th Sabine degree of Pisces, and Uranus is in Rohini Natsakra Pada 1, and Neptune's in Uttra Bhadra Natsakra Pada 3. So it's exact on the 15th of July 2026, as I said, but this is a repeating aspect, so it's going to happen again on the 15th of January 2027, also the 6th of June 2027 and February the 16th 2028 as well. So the astrological T of a sextile, where it's 60 degrees of separation, it gives us opportunity, and it's an easy aspect, so it allows us to use this energy to easily. So Uranus sextile Neptune is the grounded mystic, where innovation, newness meets vision, right? So ultimately the second house is meeting the 12th house. The second house is earth energy, the 12th house is water, Neptune spiritual ethereal energy. So Uranus and Neptune are, can see each other, and they choose to collaborate, to work together, right? So this is not, however, the effortless flow like a trine aspect, but it's an available connection if you're willing to reach for it. So it's helping us to deal with that, Jupiter square Chiron energy as well. And you have to do something to activate a sextile, but the door's open, so it's helping us heal the wound that's unhealable, from Jupiter square to Chiron, but we have to walk through that door, right? So in astrology, Uranus is the revolutionary, the awakener, the breaker of patterns, sudden change, innovation, liberation, freedom, the lightning bolt that shatters structure, right? Breaks down old traditions. And Neptune is the mystic, the dissolver, the dreamer, It gives us spiritual vision, transcendence. It's the ocean that erodes, gets rid of all boundaries. It allows us to have more empathy and compassion for ourselves and others, but it also can make us fall into delusion, overindulgence in intoxicating relationships and substances, drugs, alcohol and stuff like that. But Taurus is that nice earthly energy. It's our material reality. It's earth, right? Everything to do with possessions, money, values, all of that, the body, resources, beauty, what we can touch. Also, the slow growth of plants and the slow growth of our goals and stuff. It gives us that stubborn persistence to keep on going after all the obstacles. It is the garden, it is nature. And Pisces is the water energy, spiritual realm, the unseen, what cannot be grasped and touched, the surrender, the unconscious, the ocean, universal compassion, dissolution, letting go, endings, faith, secrets that we hide from ourselves. Also 12th house, so hidden enemies, right? And the way that we can imprison ourselves and how we can be imprisoned, and also the collective, right? So the Sextile asks, can you innovate, change Uranus and Taurus energy and work with spiritual vision? So be grounded in earth but also floating in the skies at the same time, which is Neptune in Pisces. So can the builder work with the mystic? And this is not Uranus oppose Neptune, where revolution fights transcendence. This is not Uranus square Neptune, where awakening and dissolution create confusion. This is a sextile. As I said, the door is open if you reach for it. And Uranus in Taurus allows us to go through that revolutionary change energy and make those transformative changes in a grounded way, right? In how we relate to the material world, to possessions, to money, tangible things. And it also brings sudden changes in our resources, in our bodies and in earth, and it allows us to innovate in a grounded way, and create technology that serves the garden, serves the earth, and serves the physical wellness of us all. And Neptune in Pisces gives us spiritual vision at full power. Neptune rules Pisces, mystical awareness, compassionate endings, the collective unconscious arising, and dreams that become movements, right? And the sextile, the revolutionary and the mystic can talk. The innovator and the dreamer can work together if we activate it. And in that Sakra Rohini Pada 1, where Uranus is, which is ruled by the moon, and the deity Pajapati, the creator, is the Natsakra of creative manifestation, beauty, material abundance, desire as a generative, regenerative, renewing force, right? The wed one, the fertile one, the favourite wife of the moon god who creates through desire. And Pada 1 is sub-ruled by Mars and as aggressive creative initiation. So, Chiron square, then Jupiter, Aries, Mars energy. So this is supporting us to, be creative and start things and to work with our wound. And Rohini normally moves slowly, sensually, patiently, and, allows us to add on to the beauty that we grow step by step. But Pada 1 Mars says, create now, initiate boldly, go after what you want in a brave way, start new things in spite of that, wound, the unhealable wound. The potter's wheel is spinning fast, and Uranus, the planet of sudden change, revolution, lightning in Rohini. Pada 1 is the lightning bolt hitting the garden, sudden creative manifestation, revolutionary beauty, innovation that creates material abundance, technology that serves the earth, not escapes it. And the shadow is creation, force too fast, revolutionary change that destroys the garden while trying to free it. And Uranus, wants sudden awakening, but Rohini wants slow growth. The tension is asking us, can you revolutionize change without destroying? Can you awaken the garden without killing it? And the gift is genuine creative revolution and change, innovative abundance, technology, working with AI and all of that, grounded in earth, so in an ethical way. So the three the printer making food, the vertical farm in the city, and the solar panel integrated into the beauty of raw nature. Uranus is liberating Rahuni's creative power, not from disengaging us from matter, practical day-to-day reality, but through, matter, practical day-to-day reality, right? Using the earth, being practical. And Neptune in Uttar Bhadrapada, Natsakra 3, ruled by Saturn, and the deity is Ahir Bhajana, the serpent of the deep, is the Natsakra of profound depths, the dragon in the ocean of consciousness, the Kundalini dormant at the foundation, the integration of opposites, and the completion of transformation. So Pada 3 is sub-ruled by Venus in the Libra Navasa, adding beauty and harmony and relationship to the depths, right? So the serpent comes up and surfaces for connection, the depths become cerebral, and the mystical experience is seeking ascetic form. And Neptune is the planet of dissolution, mysticism, the ocean in Uttar Bhadrapada. Pada 3 is the mystic who brings the vision back to Ser. The depths are accessed and integrated. The serpent, wisdom rising, spiritual experience that leads to wisdom, not endless seeking, but the shadow is drowning in depths, spiritual bypassing through using, pretending to be deep, pretending to be profound, using I have done deep work to avoid surface life, I don't need to pay the bills because I'm all high and mighty spiritual now, all of that. And Neptune in Uttar Bhadrapada can get stuck in the ocean floor, so deep it never surfaces and come up, so profound it never acts. So the gift of this is genuine depth of wisdom brought into form, the mystic who returns from the mountain to teach. Spiritual experience is completed in a collective offering. Neptune's dissolution serves human evolution and growth, not individual escape. So in terms of the sextile collaboration working together, Uranus in Rohini Pada 1 sextiles Neptune in Uttar Bhadrapada Pada 3, and the opportunities the innovator can work with the mystic. The material revolution can serve the spiritual vision. The vision can be grounded into innovation, right? As I said, this is not vague, spirituality means science talk. This is specific. Can the revolutionary change you're making in the material world, Uranus in Taurus energy, serve the deep spiritual vision you are integrating, Neptune in Pisces energy? Can the garden you're building embody, live the mystical depths you access? Can the technology you're innovating serve the collective spiritual evolution? So looking at your life, is what you're doing, with technology, most of us can use our phone scrolling social media, but what are you doing? Are you using it to better your life? Are you using it to uplift others? What are you using it in an ethical way, in a way that adds to your life, or are you using it in a toxic way that takes away from your life? Can the vision guide the revolution? The sextile says yes, but you have to activate it. It won't happen automatically, right? So as I said, we've got Taurus and Pisces at their 11th Sabin degree. So the Sabin degree for the Taurus at their 11th degree, right, is a woman sprinkling newly risen flowers with water, right? So tending, looking after newly risen flowers, what's just, beginning to bloom, with gentle care, sprinkling water, not flooding, giving it the appropriate nourishment and food. The woman, which is feminine attention, carefully tending, patient care, supporting growth. Uranus in this degree is revolutionary care, innovative, nurturing, the technology that tends to, come up and emerge without overwhelming. The sudden awakening applied gently to what's just beginning, newly risen flowers. Lightning with the wisdom not to burn the seedlings. The shadow of this energy is Uranus wants sudden change. Taurus wants gentle looking after and nurturing and It's asking, can Uranus be patient? Can revolution be nurturing? The gift is the awakening that supports rather than destroys, the innovation that serves yourself and humanity for those who are, doing things that want to uplift their community or communities or nations or whatever. It's ultimately saying, yes, face the Jupiter square Chiron wound and helping you do so in a gentle and loving way. And Neptune in the 11th Sabin degree, men travelling a narrow path seeking illumination, is the Sabin symbol, right? So this is a narrow path, right? Seekers, spiritual travelers, those searching, moving, journeying, going through constant, the narrow path, the limited way, a specific route toward, hunting, desiring enlightenment, light and consciousness, right? It's a spiritual quest. The narrow path, not all paths lead there, only a specific route, right? And Neptune in this degree is saying the mystic on the narrow path, the seeker who knows not all routes reach illumination. Yes, you can take certain drugs to take you to spiritual awareness, but then if these drugs are damaging your body, are you really enlightening, right? So, some paths are a dead end, some ways lead nowhere. The narrow path requires discipline, discernment, good judgment, and a willingness to reject broad, easy roads for the specific, difficult route that actually arrives. Neptune normally dissolves boundaries, all is one, all paths are the same, but Pisces in the 11th degree says no, the narrow path, the specific way, not all seeking reaches illumination, enlightenment, The shadow of this energy is the narrow path becoming inflexible dogma, my path is the only path, and spiritual seeking that excludes. The whole integration is you knowing that everyone's got a different path, right? And sometimes we may have to change that path into another one, and not constraining ourselves in a route that becomes a prison, so the gift is genuine judgment in spiritual seeking, knowing that not all paths reach the light, and discipline in mysticism, the mystic who says this worked for me, this works for me, that doesn't work for me, and that may work for someone else, and what I do doesn't work for them. And knowing that just as there's about 8 billion people on earth, there's 8 billion ways to enlightenment, and sometimes we have to be narrow, right, with our dedication. Yes, I'm going to do this to awaken myself to live in balance on the physical, emotional, spiritual levels, financial and emotional levels, right? But it's giving ourselves that compassion with boundaries and allowing ourselves, to nurture and work with the disciplined seeker side of our energy, letting that sort of like rogue, unwild, untamed side of us be disciplined, tending to new growth and doing new things, walking the path with our unhealable wound, maybe travelling towards the light in a specific way that works for you. So, revolutionary changes in how you care for yourself and others, asking yourself if you can serve your spiritual needs on a path built for you, allowing yourself to look after your individual garden and live the illumination as you travel on your path, allowing your vision to expand as you invite new ways into your life. So, this is the founder building a regenerative farm while walking a specific spiritual practice, the technologists innovating vertical gardens while seeking illumination through a narrow path in a disciplined way, the material revolution that serves the spiritual quest. So it's asking you, to meet your financial needs, get new skills for a new career, go for that promotion, start a new business, knowing Taurus energy at the highest ebb of spirituality is using spirituality in a way to give yourself abundance. So growing your own food, maybe using your money practically, making sure that the way that you align with your values, activating this energy by recognizing that the material work and the spiritual work are not separate. They work together. You know, Uranus and Neptune are working together. They can collaborate. The builder can work with the mystic, but only if you reach for it, right? All sides of yourself can work in unison. So as I said, the pattern between 2026 to 2028, it's exact on July 15th, January the 15th, 2027, June the 6th, 2027, and the 16th of February 2028, leaving the orb in May 2028. So when outer planet aspects with P, it's not the same event 3 times. It's one long, slow teaching unfolding in chapters. So in midst of the 7 planet storm in July 2026, chapter 1, the door opens, the opportunity presents itself. Can innovation collaborate with vision? Can the builder work with the mystic? And you don't have to answer yet, you just have to notice that the door's open. But when we move into chapter 2, January 2027, 6 months later, it's asking, have you activated the Sextile? Are you building a garden that embodies and lives and symbolizes the vision? Are you letting the spiritual, are you meeting your spiritual needs? And are you allowing them to inform the material revolution and changes that you need to make? Or did you just let that opportunity pass? Are you using this energy? Because like I said, Sextiles will have to use them, right? And chapter 3 in June 2027, 1 year from the first exact day, this is integration time. The Sextile has been available for a year. What have you built? What has the collaboration between innovation and vision created in your life? Slow and steady day-to-day progress, right? And chapter 4, February 2028 onward, the aspect begins again, but you're not the same person. The garden has grown, the path has advanced, the collaboration, the teamwork deepens. You can start over, finally ready to activate what you've missed. Remember that multi-year aspects are teaching arcs, not single moments. The sextile between Uranus in Taurus and Neptune in Pisces is, a teaching that goes on from 2026 to 2028, asking you, can you ground the mystical, the spiritual? Can you be practical with your spiritual ideas? Can you spiritualize the material? Can the revolution serve the transcendent? And you have until 2028 to answer and to build the day-to-day habits to get you there, right? Okay, so that's the end of part 1. In part 2, I'm going to talk about the remaining transits. So Uranus is trine to Pluto, Jupiter's trine to Neptune, Jupiter's opposition to Pluto, Jupiter's sextile to Uranus, and Neptune's sextile to Pluto, which is also part of the magic triangle. Check out the separate audio for that. That's running from 2025 to 2028. I've done a nice 3-parter on that with zodiac sign guidance and what all that means as well. So yeah, I'll see you in part 2. Thank you for listening to this. Take care and see you next time.